Welcome to my YouTube channel, One Race, the Human Race, All Human. Today is Saturday, October 2nd, 2021.
Everybody's frustrated. It's part of being in government. Being frustrated. Hey, look, one of the things I love about you guys, I watch you today. Biden vowed he's going to do this. Biden's convinced. Biden's going to work like hell to make sure we get both these passed. And I think we'll get them passed.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have a jam-packed show, but we begin the cross-connection with chaos on Capitol Hill. Now, you just heard President Biden sounding very optimistic this morning as he heads to his home in Delaware. That's after meeting with Democrats on Capitol Hill Friday. Now, Congress went home without a vote on the infrastructure package aimed at fixing the nation's roads, bridges, and pipes. Nor did they vote on the president's signature $3.5 trillion social spending bill. Now, that bill would be a major win for the rising majority of the country. It expands Medicare, lowering the cost of health care and prescriptions. It increases investments in HBCUs and other minority-serving institutions, provides funding for free community college and universal child care. And this would all potentially raise millions out of poverty. But two Democratic senators representing less than 3% of the U.S. population are blocking those policies supported by a whopping 62% of Americans.
If we need to be real, are we going to deliver universal pre-K to this country or not? Are we going to expand healthcare to our seniors and include vision and dental or not? Are we going to invest in housing so that people back home in NYCHA can actually get hot water in wintertime or not? That's what we need to know, and I know we're all committed to the same goal.
But are you all committed to the same goal, though? Because as this country awaits the outcome of this vote, Senator Sinema flew home to Arizona Friday for a doctor's appointment and a fundraiser at a high-end resort and spa. So while she's making it rain in the desert, the people's patience has just about dried up. And not to be forgotten, the Republicans here, they plan to vote in the Senate against raising the country's debt ceiling. And this potentially will have us default on our loans. Now, we as a country really don't know what happens if we default on our debt because it's quite literally never happened before. But I know you know what happens if you default on that household debt and can't pay the light bill. Let's talk about that. Joining me now is Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego. He's also the chairman of BoldPAC. Very honored to have you here with me this morning, Congressman. Let's get into this. I think the first question everybody wants to know, based on your conversations with your caucus, are these bills going to pass?
Yes, the bills are going to pass. And actually, as a member of the Progressive Caucus, we're very excited. We think we do have an opportunity to pass a transformational bill. We're glad that this arbitrary deadline has just been pushed off. And that we can actually get down and really work to a good compromise that's really going to move America forward.
Well, I think what's important, you hear a lot of folks covering this, and it's very inside the Beltway speak. And so people who don't wake up reading Politico or, watching the political minutia all day might be a little confused about what's in the bill. So we went over a little bit of that in the open. I think it's important to point out that a lot of these policies will directly impact people of color, the rising majority in this country. What stands out about the $3.5 trillion bill that's most important as some of your colleagues are trying to shrink it to $1.5 trillion?
Well, the most important thing for people to...
Well, let me also mention, though, it's going to help white Americans also, your poor and low-wealth white Americans, and there are more poor, low-wealth and white Americans in America than there are African Americans who are poor or low-wealth. Everyone has a right to be treated with dignity and respect. This is a bill for everyone, everywhere, every place, to help bring people out of poverty and to have a human infrastructure that meets the needs of ordinary human beings.
Understand is that, and the way I think about it is that this is the infrastructure of opportunity. And when I say that, it's because there is a certain amount of infrastructure that you need for people to succeed in this country, especially people that grew up poor like I did, right? Good schools, good health care, some good support systems. So that's what you see in this infrastructure, right?
And
you see
do we not have the McCarthy bite? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You have some, subsidies for childcare, for example, something that's very key. And you're hearing about this all over the country where women and men can't even go back to work because they can't find solid childcare. You have opportunity for us to have the expansion of the child tax credit and make it permanent, so we could permanently lift about 50% of children out of poverty, which has great ramifications for the rest, for the rest of the country. You have free community college is going to definitely help people like retool themselves and be ready for the workforce of tomorrow. And then even for Medicare, something that's really important, we're going to have our seniors going to be able to get their dental as well as a hearing covered under Medicare, which now at this point is costing more. And then lastly, a lot of climate change legislation. The climate change legislation that we really need to truly fix the future. Now, the other infrastructure package does a lot of things to actually increase our carbon, right? You have more roads, you can put more cars on those roads. This is the actual infrastructure that's going to actually help bring down our carbon emissions and really prepare us for the future.
So I want to ask, because I think part of the frustration is people present this conflict on Capitol Hill as though it's a plot and a political thriller based on Democratic infighting. And while we're talking about that, what we're not talking about is GOP obstruction. Now, your colleague on the other side of the aisle, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, has already said his caucus will not vote for any of this. And, I think this is challenging to people to hear that, but most of the media focuses on Democratic infighting. What about the GOP sitting on the sidelines and refusing to govern here?
Well, look, this is what the GOP is. They're an obstructionist party that is trying to turn this country back to a time that never actually existed, or if it did exist, it was not good for a majority of the people of this country. Kevin McCarthy does not have the imagination nor the smarts to actually lead a party into, to actually governing a country as dynamic as ours. And so the only thing they can do is obstruct. But the Republican Party has never actually, in the last decade, really introduced anything that actually has helped grow this country. All they've really done is done tax cuts to actually help this country be even poorer. So it doesn't surprise me. I only wish the actually DC media would recognize that. Instead, they kind of give this fig leaf cover that somehow the GOP, as it is right now, wants to govern. They don't want to govern. I hope that changes, but it's not the case.
Obviously, right? So let me ask you about immigration while I have you. This is a huge issue that will impact millions of people in this country. The Senate parliamentarian dashed hopes, and now the Democrats do have options, though. There are a few options. Some people in your caucus have said that the Democrats will take up other measures to protect undocumented immigrants and their families. What are those measures, and what is your message to the over 8 million people who will be impacted by this policy?
Look, we're going to keep on trying. Some of those measures are reintroducing bills that we have passed in the past. So the DREAM Act, hopefully we can get through the Senate. We're going to try and introduce different language back to the parliamentarians to try to cover more people. Unfortunately, again, this is what happens when you have a governing party, a party that doesn't govern, such as the Republicans, that just want to let our broken immigration system continue to be broken, so they could actually keep exploiting it and keep making people afraid. This is what happens when you have a filibuster, where even though you can't get probably 54, even 58 senators to agree, because you don't have the other 42, you're going to stop some very popular legislation, even the DREAM Act, for example, which hasn't passed in a bipartisan support, right? So these are the things that we have to both pass as Democrats in the House of Representatives, but we also have to structurally look at why has immigration reform happened. And the reason immigration reform hasn't happened is because you have a party that doesn't want to govern, and you have a system that doesn't allow us to govern with a simple majority.
Yeah, protesters just shut down the Golden Gate Bridge this week in California, trying to keep attention on this issue. So it's certainly major. I'm curious because, people of color, overwhelmingly Black people, members of the Latino community, even in Georgia, pockets of the AAPI community, overwhelmingly, and Native American communities, overwhelmingly help deliver the power of the federal government to Democrats. As we head into midterms, and there has not been what we defaulted on police reform, those conversations look dead. Immigration, we don't know what's going to happen with that. You say these two bills will pass, we'll see. What's the message to voters going into midterms after they put their lives on the line and came out to vote in a pandemic, and still there's not a lot of tangible progress we can point to?
Well, that's the problem. This is why we need to pass this infrastructure bill. This is why the Republicans aren't helping. This is why the Republicans want to destroy the debt limit. This is why the Republicans are going to, try to scare everybody when it comes to immigration and terrorism, whatever else they're going to come up with, and then try to scare people with, this, dumb scare tactic of critical race theory. there is no message that the Republicans are putting out. But if we don't pass an infrastructure bill that actually helps lift people out of poverty, then we too will not have a message, right? So my message is, let's get this done. This is the opportunity infrastructure that we need, that we're not going to ever get again. And we can really, truly lift a lot of people out of poverty and really into the American dream. And that, at the end of the day, is how you start getting people back. That's how you start getting those Latino males that are starting to slide towards Republicans, those African American males starting to slide towards Republicans. And maybe we start getting some of our Anglo working class people to come back and vote for Democrat politics. Then they actually see that we're actually doing something and not just saying something.
Yeah, I'd love to unpack those voters, by the way. How do you feel about your fellow Arizonian, Senator Kristen Sinema? I mean, she has really been somewhat of an obstructionist to her own party. This is, your colleague and hometown legislator. What's your thought about her?
Well, my thought about her, and also other senators and other members of my own caucus that I think have, not been as helpful, is tell us what you are for. Because we're going to put down our values as a caucus, as a member of the Progressive Caucus, as a member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I'll tell you what I'm for and what I want to see and wrap a budget around it. Don't just tell us what you're against, right? Because that's hard, right? I want to compromise. I know she wants to compromise. I know my other colleagues want to compromise. But it's hard to compromise when all you say is no. Let's put down our values and let's figure out where we can meet in the middle ground. Because at the end of the day, Democrats don't win this. Progressives don't win this. Conservative Democrats don't win this. You know who wins this? The American people. And that's what we should be focusing on.
Well, you're just laying out what you're for very clearly. 2024 is right around the corner. Will you challenge her for Senate?
No, 2024 is, 3 years from now. I am going to focus on getting this bill done, getting reelected. I have a young family. I want to focus on that. And so I don't think that far ahead. It's not fair to the public. It's not fair to my constituents. It's certainly not fair to my family. But the most important thing I need to do is first make sure I get this bill done.
Well, in the long run, it might be helpful to your constituents, sir, with respect, because there is the Nuestro PAC that has already raised over $1 million. There's another PAC trying to draft you to run for Senate. I think Chuck Rocha is over that Nuestro PAC. There are people out there begging, run, Gallego, run. So what are you thinking about? What's going into your consideration between now and 2024 as you make this decision?
Well, honestly, Tiffany, what I'm thinking about is my family and thinking about my constituents. And I owe my constituents my all-out attention, for 2022 and getting this infrastructure bill done. So I appreciate the curiosity and thank you for the questions. But, at this point, I'm not committing to running in 2024.
All right. Well, when you or if you make that announcement, you're very welcome to do that right here on this show. We'll keep our eye on you. And, of course, thank you for your service as an Iraq War veteran. We thank you for joining us so much this morning, Congressman Ruben Gallego. Have a wonderful Saturday. And coming up for you guys at home, thousands will be marching nationwide today to protect Roe v. Wade. I'll talk to a congressman or congresswoman, and an organizer of one of those rallies after the break. And later, as Soul Train turns 50, Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and former Soul Train dancer Jody Watley is here. So we're going to be talking about the show's lasting influence. Maybe I'll dance a bit. We'll see. Stay tuned.